with Anthony Miranda.
Well, first, good evening, and thanks for the invitation to be here. I guess it confuses a lot of people because I'm also the chairman of the National Latino Officers Association, and we've been very aggressive about our civil rights issues. But I also ran as a candidate, and so I'm not going to talk to you necessarily as a candidate that ran for office, but some things observations that we made in dealing with many candidates out here. There are a lot of people here tonight, and if each one of us went out there and just got 5 more people, imagine how big we would be. So that's what we have to start thinking about the future. We're talking about traditional politics versus money. Traditionally, you used to believe in a candidate, and you went out there and you said, I'm going to go collect signatures and knock on doors and get people to vote for you. But unfortunately, especially around in the community of Queens, we've now gotten used to this idea of being paid. It's $10 a page, $10 signature. You know, since the Bloombergs of the world and the most affluent people have come in here, money has been the equation of the day. And too many of our people and our organizations that claim to represent us have gone for the dollar before they began going for the ideal of actually representing our community. Now, that's not to fault some nonprofits that need to get funded. Go get your money. But as a community, we have to encourage ourselves to look beyond the endorsements and look beyond the names of organizations that are supporting people and saying what is actually happening. When we start looking about what the cost is for an actual candidate running for office right now, you're talking about raising $70,000 to $100,000 just to be considered a serious candidate. That money devastates our communities. But we have the majority of people, if every Latino, regardless of where Latino you came from, or Hispanic, whichever you prefer, just gave $1, we can fund any candidate that we needed to run for office. But then you have to think beyond the politics, beyond the Democratic Party or the Republican Party or the Independence Party or Working Families Party. You got to start thinking about the individual who's going to actually turn out to represent you. That means that we have to know that candidate. Again, that's why I said you got to look beyond just the fact that so-and-so endorsed them. Great. How many organizations did so-and-so get funded because they endorsed them? That's what needs to be paying attention to. We're going to do plenty of screenings in different organizations, and the biggest equation today when you go to political screenings is they're scared to cross the line because they fear the retaliation, just in case you don't win. So fear motivates them more so than actually supporting what the issues are. Voting to count. We have the actual election coming up November 2nd. People will tell you vote for this guy, that guy. I'm here to tell you just vote. We have to count as Latinos. Regardless of what party we vote under, what line you vote under, they count to see how many of us turn out. You follow that? They count to see how many people actually registered to vote. So there's a process where we move. Many of us don't know the process. Many people here probably do. When you're registered, you're just a voter. But how do you get to that prime status, the gold status of being triple prime? A triple prime voter is somebody who votes consistently all the time, which means that every elected official starts knocking at your door and paying attention to you. In our district, in the 35th district, there are 38,000 registered voters. Only 1,800 people are triple prime voters. They only cared about 1,800 people to go knock on their doors. So when you're sitting here today in the audience, ask yourself, what are you? Regular voter? Prime voter? Double prime? Are you that triple prime voter, the guy that gets out there, a girl that votes consistently every time, that every politician is going to come knocking on your door? Now that transcends every ethnicity. But the reality is, while it impacts on every community, if Latinos are the majority, which we are already, and we exercise our vote correctly, and move to the category of becoming triple prime, then we now have moved into the next level of political empowerment. Forget about the politicians, elected officials. You may not like anybody who's running in November, but you go pull the ballot. Because after November election, they'll be counting those numbers. They'll say, so many Latinos came out to vote. And then we will be evaluated, and our importance will be evaluated citywide based on how many of us actually went out to the polling sites and pulled the lever. So when you go back home and you talk to your neighbor, get them all out. I don't care who they vote for. It's not even saying one candidate versus the other. The fact that we now exercise the right to vote is the obstacle that we have to overcome. Because if we don't vote, it doesn't matter who's running. And you can come to all the forums in the world, and it's not going to make a difference. You'll hear nice speeches, and we got professional people here, great speakers, but the fact of the matter is if you don't go out and pull the lever, it's not going to make any difference. And the same people will be elected to office. In communities that are majority Hispanic, why shouldn't we have somebody who looks like us? Not somebody who caters to us. Every other community says they look for their own first. So we tell you, look for your own first. Look for your own first and find out if there's somebody qualified who's one of your own. And then go to the next level and see what they can do for us. Because other communities don't care what whether the person's been arrested or what they've done in their past. The fact that they're a certain color or a certain ethnicity, they vote for them. They won't vote for the Latino name that's on there, right? In the white community, they'll vote white. These are things that I'm saying that might be radical to most people. Say, oh, he shouldn't be saying that, right? But if you were, they look for the white guy, he's white, they vote for him because he's white. African Americans do the same thing. Latinos, unfortunately, have not done it strong enough. So let's look for our Latinos who are qualified, male and female, and let's get them elected to office because it's our time. The expenses, remember, the thing that kills most candidates, we have the power of people that can outdo any number, any financial obligation, by having volunteerism and by having people participate in campaigns. So wherever you live at right now, latch on to either an elected official who's currently sitting into office and say, I'm going to be a part of your team and hold them accountable, and somebody who wants to come to office and make that happen for them. But if you're a part of it, then you can make a difference. Otherwise, we're still screaming from the outside. This forum is about bringing people together. When you leave here today, you should go back with the question, what am I considered? A regular voter or a triple prime voter? And what do I have to do to be counted so that I can be triple prime, and how many other people can I bring with me? The empowerment comes when we change our category. And when we change our category, we'll control the politics of Queens and the rest of the city of New York. But I guarantee you, after November 2nd, they'll be talking like they do in the policy and they put the numbers out there. They will say, how many Latinos voted? And if you didn't vote, then it doesn't matter. You can hold all the press conferences you want to, and you can stand outside complaining that they're not giving us services. In fact, many people say they represent both. They represent all people of color. And then you look at their staff, there's not one Latino on there. I'm not talking about the cleaning staff. And I'm not talking about the guy that drives them around. But somebody in a policy-making decision that will have influence in that office in the direction it goes into. That's what you look for. Queens right now, in these districts, the congressional seats are going to be changed, the senatorial, all the seats are up for election in 2 more years. How many Latinos are we going to get elected to office in 2 years? And when do we tell Queens that we've already arrived? They keep telling us next year, a couple of years from now, we'll get there. I tell you, we're already there. And it's time for us, Latino to Latino, neighbor to neighbor. We can change the forum and change the whole spectrum of how politics is run. Remember, go home and look, am I a triple prime voter? Do I count to politicians and political structure? And if you do, then you're worth $1 million. Go back and get other people to that level, okay? Thank you so much.